Okay, I guess it's time for me to kind of get this show on the road. So, here we go. And yeah, welcome to Dauntless Open Beta. Now, you don't have to be watching me playing this if you don't want to. You can actually be downloading it and playing it yourself. There are no longer any restrictions on anyone being able to get into this. No keys are required, nothing like that. You just created an account, download the game, get in and play yourself. And by all accounts, it's actually holding up fairly well. So fingers crossed, we should be doing pretty well. I've been playing it off and on throughout the evening. There have been a couple of minor issues here and there, but for the most part we seem to be doing okay in terms of stability and so on. But this is a beta by all the same, so don't be surprised if things go a bit peculiar. Now, this is a Monster Hunter style game, so if you've played Monster Hunter style stuff before, then you should know, roughly speaking, what to expect. So weapons have a bit of weight to them, attacks aren't the kind of spam in one place, all that kind of stuff. But the main thing here is going out, hunting monsters, killing the monsters, bring back bits of monsters to then make better armor, better weapons and stuff like that. So I've done a few intro quests. The intro sequence has been completely revamped. It's actually really nice now. They've got some kind of really cool in-game cutscenes and stuff like that, so well worth checking out there. But what I'm going to do now is go to the Monstrous Verge and actually show you what it's like to play the game. So, Nasha attack, start hunt. And Black Lion Chest, thank you so much for the subscription. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, good sir. Alright. Hello. So how are you doing? Have you been, because you must be loving it in Seattle at the moment, but I hope you're doing well. You've never heard of Dauntless before? Okay, so in a nutshell, I first heard about this about a year ago. And it was through Corey Hendren, who's the lore writer on Dauntless. So you might know Corey from doing a load of the lore and being the voice of Protostar for Wildstar. He's now working for Phoenix Labs on Dauntless, and he's been doing that for some time now. And I thought, well, if he's on board, it's worth a shout. So I actually paid money. I paid physical money for this game, and I paid for a Founders Pack way back when. That Founders Pack gave me access to the alpha, went through that, gave me access to the closed beta as well, went through that, and now it's into the open beta as well. Obviously you can see waiting for server in the middle here, so the servers are being hammered at the moment because it is the first day of open beta. We might have a few couple glitches here and there. Neptune, welcome to the chat. Yeah, I completely get what you're saying in terms of it crashing. To be fair to them, it's the first day of open beta. We expect this kind of thing to happen. When it does work, it's fantastic, but beta is beta. The only thing I can suggest is to persist with it, reconnect if necessary and stuff like that, and hopefully it'll sort itself out. So for example, you can see here that we've been waiting for a little while now, and exactly, Shakun, it's not trash, it's called in development. So you'll probably see the chat box right above me. We've got about 5 or 6 different channels that we're streaming on here, and all of those channels, the chat is being coordinated there-ish, so that's the idea. If it does kind of hang on waiting for server for too long, then I'll just restart the game. You get a black screen for a little while, and then I'll log back in, and hopefully it'll recover. But beta is beta, and you can't predict all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I do kind of sympathise. It did go through a load of beta stuff, and if you're watching the Dauntless guys on Twitter, they're posting a load of updates in terms of what the server status is and stuff like that. And it came online. I mean, it's lunchtime in the Pacific at the moment. It's early evening in UK, and it's probably that side of things, which means everyone's kind of ramming on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if it'll return. Error occurred during matchmaking, so the best thing to do here is hit Task Manager and exit Dauntless and then restart Dauntless. Not responding. Come on, there we go. Luckily I have the client still running, so it's dead easy for me to, or the patch is still running, so it's dead easy for me to fire it back up again. There we go. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame really that, but it's to be expected that the servers are being hammered. So do I play Fortnite? I have played it a little bit. So Kenny was taken, bro. Story of me and Fortnite. I do like Fortnite. I think there's a good place for it. And the art style in Dauntless is a little bit like if you took Fortnite and just wind it back a little bit, you'd have that kind of Dauntless art style. Do I play it myself? Not really. And the main reason for that is I prefer my shooters to be a lot more kind of fast-paced, all that kind of stuff. So I'm much more in terms of Quake Champions, Unreal Tournament, Team Fortress 2. That's the kind of shooter I enjoy playing more than Fortnite. Don't get me wrong though, I think Fortnite's an amazing game and I really love watching it, but I just find it really frustrating to play it, if that makes sense. But I think some of the streamers that are out there. So Shakun, while this is doing the whole matchmaking in progress thing, the changes in alpha are really significant. Well, changes since alpha are really significant. The combat's improved massively. Weapons have got a lot more weight and heft to them. It feels a lot meatier. A lot of the combos are now present, so you've actually got weapon combos. There's a whole new progression system, so you actually start off with one type of gear and you work your way through. And you also get 4 different regions to work your way through in terms of where the monsters are, or the behemoths as they call them, or behemoths. How do you pronounce that? You get the idea. So they're all present. You've also got different tiers of monster as well. So you get rogue, you get regular, you get dread, I think is the next ones. But you get different tiers of monsters, so you can get some really easy and some really tough ones as well. And it does look like it was really annoying because I've had fantastic matches for the last like 3 or 4 times, and now when I actually go and stream with it and play it, it's like nah. It's like no. But there we go. But yeah, it's worth checking out for yourself. But you might want to wait until either later on this evening or tomorrow to actually get on if the servers are going to be clogged for the rest of the evening, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, Shukun, I think that there's a massive number of changes, and they're all for the better, you know. You got things like destructible scenery when you're fighting the monsters. You get things like proper dismemberment, so you can cut off the tail of monsters and stuff like that. You get much clearer gathering nodes, and it's much easier to gather materials for those. So all those bits and pieces, they're all there, they're all present. It's worth hunting down. So I'm debating at the moment whether I want to restart this again, because it's I've got to be honest, it's normally much quicker just going dang done. But yeah, it's one of those things, you know. It's a little bit of a shame that It's a very popular game, and everyone thought, hey, I'll go play this. So, folks in the chat, I don't think you should stream today since it's launch day. Yes, thank goodness they're getting worked on gathering. Yeah, so this was the thing that bugged me as well. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind grinding for a particular piece of beer moth loot, for want of a better term. Yeah, so I don't mind grinding the same beer moth to get a particular part to make some armor, but it felt like that grind curve started too early in the progression. Nowadays it's much smoother, so you can start making some of the early beer moth armor quite easily within a couple of hours of play, and that's fantastic, you know. But all of the other bits as well, in terms of ores, in terms of herbs and so on for making potions, and in terms of all the other bits and pieces you need for making the consumables, much better. Much better. I am going to give this another restart. It's such a shame, you know, because I had such like high hopes of providing you guys with a smooth, action-packed experience, and nah. And it's also a bit weird that the intro videos don't show up as well, and they're not skippable. So it's like, so you see, this bit works absolutely fine. Loading account information, because you enter all that into the patcher. Oh, there's a new patcher now, Shukun. So you don't log in on the client, you log in on the patcher, and the patcher takes your details and puts you in. But yeah, I'm beginning to kind of agree with you. Maybe trying to stream today was me being a little bit optimistic. But feel free to keep throwing questions at me. I shall try and tell you everything I know. How is the controller UI and interface now? Oh, so much better. So there's two things. First of all, the main in-game UI is massively improved. Just in terms of things like, you know, the quest UI was a bit clunky and a bit horrible. That's cleaned up completely. Do I play any Conan? So I did play a load of Conan. Great question, Gators33. So I used to play a load of Conan, Age of Conan, back when that came out as an MMO. I have played a fair bit of Conan Exiles. I think it's really cool how Funcom have kind of taken the Age of Conan MMO and turned it around and made it a bit of a kind of Ark style game. I've also played a fair bit of Ark Survival Evolved. I really enjoyed some of the servers, you know, with the bit of survival aspect. But the best bit for me was spinning up a private server, you know, where you hire an Ark server, get that set up, and then have battles, you and your mates, and you'd usually form into factions, and that was fairly cool. And I really enjoyed that, because it was like you were doing something, but it was unique to your own experience. But yeah, I think I've got a lot of time for Conan. I've got a lot of time for the guys at Funcom. I also really appreciate what they've done with the Secret World, or Secret Worlds Legends now. Is that Secret World Legends? The remake of it. That's really good, really enjoyable. You can jump into that. The combat system's massively improved there as well. So yeah. Going back to Shakun though, the other thing that was really cool with Dauntless is they've got proper controller support now. So if you've got an Xbox One or an Xbox 360 controller, you can plug that into your PC and you can play with that. And it does kind of hint that maybe this could make it on console as well. And I think it'd do really well on console as a free-to-play title. But they want to focus on the PC version first, which you can't really blame them. But I'm just going to check the Dauntless Twitter account and see have they actually said Yeah. Yeah, they're fighting with a couple of issues. They're fighting with matchmaking. They're fighting with people spawning into Ramsgate underground. They're fighting with issues of people completing a battle and they don't get teleported back. So yeah, there's a few issues they're aware of now, which seem to be building up at the moment. And I think that's just a symptom of everything going on with the game, which is a big shame because I was really looking forward to showing this off. What we might do is come back to this a little later, either later on this evening once some of the issues have been resolved, or a little bit later on in the week or during the weekend. But it's a real shame. One thing I would suggest is, if you haven't already taken a look at it and you're completely new to Dauntless, I have recently put up an article on mmorpg.com, which is 5 things you need to know before going into the open beta. And apart from the connection issues which have been happening, this will take you through everything that's happened. So if like you, Shukun, you haven't been in since alpha and you really want to be getting back into it, then it'll tell you how to do that, and it'll tell you all of the changes that have happened. If you're completely new to the game and you haven't experienced it before, then it'll tell you all the things that you can expect to play. And also, if you're new to the monster hunting genre, it'll tell you how this style of game works differently to other ones as well. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, Gators 33. Yeah, I do play Conan. And Kenny Wasted Bro. I do play a bit of Fortnite, and I think Fortnite's cool. But I mostly leave Fortnite to the pros. And I really enjoy watching them because they're awesome doing it. You know, when they start building stuff and going nuts with it. I'm going to give this one more go, folks, and see if we could actually persuade it to swing into action. That was a lot quicker that time. The cool thing is that Dauntless does actually have a status page if you go onto their website. In fact, what is it called? Status.playdauntless.com, and it says degraded performance on game servers, login and matchmaking. So they are monitoring the service and they are aware that there are issues. Yeah, Shukun, I'm not sure if they're gonna do another patch to update it, but I think what they will do is take a look at some of the issues at the back end and see what's causing it, and if they identify what the bottlenecks are that they're hitting, then they'll look to resolve it. Come on. But yeah, you'll probably find that, for example, tomorrow morning in EU time or during the weekend sometime, it'll have evened out a lot because there's just a mad rush of people trying to get on there at the moment. Other thing that I should be mentioning to you folks. So one of the things that I'm planning on doing with Phoenix, who are the developers, they've said that we can get special codes for some mmorpg.com flares. So flares are things you shoot into the sky, they explode like a little firework or something, and they're used to signify where the behemoth is so that everyone else can converge on that position and race to it and then say, okay, this is where the behemoth is, and all converge and then kill the monster and get the loot. We have a special one which I've got, and a couple of other guys on the mmorpg.com crew have got, which has our logo, which shoots into the sky. And the guys at Phoenix have said, if we want more codes of those, then I can ask them and they'll do some more for me. So I will look to get some more codes, and depending on how many I get, I'll look to do a giveaway. And anyone who tunes in, I will give you first refusal on any MMORPG.com codes that we get. How does that sound? Fair? Why Tumor 1? You asked how long is the open beta on for? So we haven't been given a closing date for it. All we've been given is a start date, and the start date is today. So I would estimate it's going to run for weeks, if not months. So this isn't just a weekend thing that they're trying out. This is a bit more like a Warcraft open beta, or a Gigantic open beta, or a Warframe open beta, or stuff like that, you know, where they fire it up and then they just leave it running. And you'll probably see that it gets iterated on and patched and updated and tweaked and what have you as it goes through open beta. And at some stage in the future they'll probably say, right, and now we're launching, and there won't be a massive difference between the finished open beta and the live game, if that makes sense. It'll just be they finished adding everything they wanted to do before they call it full launch, if that makes sense. As a result, there are things in the game at the moment, like there are microtransactions, there is a bit of monetization in there, but there's no loot boxes. So this was the other cool thing. They looked at the loot box situation. When was it? Last October. And you know, there's this big uproar, particularly around Star Wars Battlefront 2, where people were saying we're not pleased about loot boxes because it's a form of gambling, and we're a bit sick of paying money for something where we don't know what we're going to get, or if it's going to be any good, or stuff like that. And fair play to the guys at Phoenix. They said, yeah, you got a point. We'll get rid of loot boxes, and everything we put on the item store will be cosmetic but direct purchase, which I think is pretty cool, you know. So I've had a quick look on there earlier when matchmaking was not in progress. It actually worked, and it was things like die packs, emotes, transmog tokens, so you could make one piece of gear look like another piece of gear, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't things like here's a loot box which might contain an emote that you want, or here's a loot box that might contain a piece of an armor set that you want, or here's a key for a loot box that you've discovered while fighting on a floating island. And that, I think, is really cool, you know. And Shakun, I think you're probably right. I think it's more of a soft launch, but it's called open beta firstly for things like this, you know, where they're saying we're not quite sure what's going to happen with it, but they want to make sure they test everything properly, and they can say it's still beta, guys, we haven't ironed out all of the kinks yet. So fair play to them. So yeah, I think I'm going to call it here, because this is such a shame, you know. All working, I get sat down, get set to get it all loaded up. No. So it was working for 5 minutes when I originally started the stream, but yeah. So what I'll do is I'll call it here, and I will fire up the stream again either later on this evening or sometime tomorrow or during the weekend, and give you a full rundown of what's going on, and hopefully I'll provide some codes for you as well. If you're not doing it in the meantime, throw me a follow on Le Twitch or Le Twitter. It's Gazimoff on either Twitch or Twitter, whichever you prefer, and that way you'll get notified as soon as I crank up the streams. And if I'm using the MMORPG ones as well, you'll just get it blazed everywhere, because we're like that. We've got Periscope, we've got the YouTubes, we've got the whole lot. But yeah, I'll give you a shout when it happens. I'm really sorry about this, but beta is beta, launch day is launch day, and I should have seen this one coming a mile off. But thank you very much for joining me anyway, guys. I'll catch you again soon.